right. Happy Wednesday. Sorry I missed you guys Monday night. I was traveling this week. We went up to ETH Denver. We spoke on a panel up there. Had a really good time. There was a lot of really good people there in Denver. I like Colorado, and the weather was super nice. The weather was like perfect. For February, I'd expected it to have been a little bit colder. It probably was up on the mountain. There's a lot of people that were bringing skis through the airport. Probably something I'd like to do. You know, I don't know what we'll do for my kiddo's spring break, but ski trip would be cool. I got a couple people here on YouTube, and we got a bunch of people over here on TikTok. Appreciate y'all hopping in tonight. This one's going to be interesting. We're going to start this off with a little, I don't know, something a little different. I normally don't get into, I'm not going to get into politics. Everybody has their own beliefs there, and that's cool. I'm all for it. I want everybody to be able to believe whatever they want in this country. I think that's the beauty of, capitalism, and I wish we had a republic, but we have a democracy, so that's okay. So anyway, not on that side, but we have the Epstein files being released tomorrow, which I think is a huge wild card, like a really big wild card for a lot of reasons. And I put a post out on Twitter just a little bit ago and asked, just hypothetically, what if there is something in the flight logs or something else over there that's released tomorrow that is indicative that Bitcoin was used or associated with what's going on with Epstein and the child trafficking and all the other stuff. I hope that's not the case. I don't know if it will be or not. But with it, kind of being early on and, a way to kind of transmit money outside the banking system, I don't know. I don't know if it will be or not. I'm highly confident that there are a lot of people that do not want that log or list shared. So be on the lookout for something to erode the possibility of that becoming public. Don't know what that is going to be. Obviously, they've announced that that's coming out tomorrow, so they have they've made other people aware that that's going to transpire, and I think you might see some people squirm to prevent that from happening. Don't know. Again, no idea what that's going to mean, what's going to happen. I'm interested to see it just like everybody else is, but I think tomorrow is kind of dropping the trump card, for lack of a better term, or a joker or an ace up their sleeve type situation. Anyway, it'd be very interesting to see what they try to pull, people that are on that list, to keep that from coming out now that it is going to be made public. So anyway, just want to start it off there. Very interesting times we're living in. Excited to be here with you guys. Super blessed and grateful for the opportunity to be able to invest in digital assets at these prices. I don't know if you guys have seen the market. You might be happy and you might be sad. I don't know which you are. Some people are loading up. The fear. Here's the deal. The fear and greed index is a fantastic indicator of when you should be buying. Right now, it is at 10. We have not seen 10 since the bear market, like a long time. So for me, this kind of feels like a bottom for certain assets. I think that there could be significant downside for other assets, and I think that there probably will still be some problems, and headwinds, especially if Tether is involved in the stuff tomorrow. I don't know. That could also be a possibility for moving money outside the system. We've seen them allow, sanctioned countries to transact over their network. So maybe there's other counterparties on that network that have used it for other illicit activities. And the dollar, let's be real, the dollar cash, it's been used for way more money laundering and illicit activities than crypto and digital assets ever has. Okay. I know that. I'm just saying there's going to be, if it is associated with these events that transpired and bad things, then there'll be a stigma. There'll be, I don't know that it'll be able to recover from that. So anyway, excited to see how it plays out. Not I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but just speculating, putting my tinfoil hat on with the rest of you guys. Excited to see where things go. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into tinfoil hat on this one. It's good on TikTok over here. Go ahead and hop into the questions here, run it down tonight. Like I said, Miss Monday, appreciate you guys and all the kind words. Apparently a lot of people look forward to these, so super cool to see that. Thank you for the encouragement, the kind words, and the support on that. I get on here and I ramble on, and I guess people find it valuable. Apparently they do, and I just want to say thank you for being here and supporting and getting the value if it's something you look forward to each week. And if you do, I don't say this enough, please like, subscribe, share it to somebody else you think would find it valuable. We'll go ahead and hop into the questions here. Big G, they say, hey Jake, at what point do you think splitting your XRP across cold wallets is worth it? Say 20,000 split into 2K across 10 wallets, or would you just wait for more before splitting? I don't want to dox myself. When I had a lot of wallets, my threshold was 50,000 XRP is what I would limit it to. That was my personal number, right? That was the amount of exposure, and that was when the price was much lower, right? So depending on your exposure for loss, you might rebalance at different price points. As it appreciates, you might be willing to hold, so right now that would be about, let's say $50,000 that you'd be holding on each cold wallet. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And maybe, maybe your threshold is a bit higher than that. I think everybody has a little bit different threshold for loss. I think it's a bit excessive here where you're at, Big G, for 20,000 across 10 wallets at 2,000 a piece. It's still only like $5,000-$6,000 per cold wallet. Now, if XRP goes to a lot of the values that we're hopeful for, then maybe that's a better, situation then. To be able to disperse it. But I think about it as total value of current assets is how I would look at that. So up to you. There's no wrong way to do it. Obviously, you just got to keep up with all those seed phrases, which I can tell you from experience is a headache. He said, also thoughts on Bank of America releasing their own stablecoin after regulations. All of the investment banks will do it. All of them. And Google and Amazon and Apple and McDonald's. And anybody else that sends international payments and has remittance, they will likely have a stablecoin that they use. And they will be on the XRPL, unless it's consumer facing. And then it will probably be on Hyperledger. So, if they're sending large value, high value payments back in between financial institutions and enterprises, it's likely that they will use XRP. If it's consumer facing, I think it'll be issued on Stellar's network. And I think all of them will do it. It's not just Bank of America. Bank of America obviously trialed XRP, but they're all going to have stable coins. Martian says, Jake, Google fundamental valuation framework for crypto assets. You'll find a PDF that says there's no limit to how many times you can use XRP per day. The number 10 refers to something else. Yeah, so I'm cool with that. And I'm just going by Robbie Mitchnick's calculator. Okay. So if he's the head of digital assets at BlackRock, I'm going to go by what he said, not what the internet says. Cool. If that fundamental framework says that, I don't know who wrote that. If it was also Robbie, then, I'd believe it, but I'm going to go with what the guy that runs the head of digital assets at BlackRock says, as my reference on the total number of use per day. And maybe he just put that in there as an arbitrary number. I don't know, but that's where I got it from, was the calculator that shows XRP could scale to $10,000 plus. So again, could it be used more than that? Absolutely. Probably so. I'm just going off what he put as a limit on that calculator. And again, with him sitting in the position that he is, I'm probably going to take his word over the internet. Let's see here. Robert, thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, hey, brother, I've been watching several X accounts today claiming that Japan's reverse carry trade unwind has already begun. Thoughts? Yeah, you're seeing it. Like, these are people that are front running everyone else in the stock market, in crypto, in other asset classes as well. Everything is going to bleed, and the people that are getting out now and swapping back. So 2 days ago, the Bank of Japan started yield curve control. Like, it was evident it was going to continue to spike, and they've pushed it down. They're selling bonds to hold the rate down, or buying bonds to push the rate down. It's manipulated. And when a central bank starts yield curve control, it is a last ditch effort to stabilize markets before there's a problem. So QE and yield curve control are kind of the two levers that they can pull. And for them to do that, they've already done a bunch of QE and interest rates. And so they don't want to hike, because if they hike it continues to exacerbate it. So with them stepping in and curtailing the bond yield, that tells me it's about to go down. They're kicking the can just a little bit further. What do you think XRP will do March 1st over here on TikTok? These next 3 days here are going to be wild, in my opinion. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff go down with the release of the Epstein documentation, flight logs, and all that stuff. Again, the people that are on that list are probably going to try to pull some stuff to make sure that doesn't come out. I don't know what that's going to be. Again, I don't know if it's going to be tied to any type of transaction. Like, they've got the transaction list. They have to, right? Because they know who was associated and how they were transmitting value and how they're paying for stuff. So anyway, we'll see what's affiliated with it and what's not. But I think the next 3 days are going to be extremely volatile. Atlantic Living. Should we be even investing in coins like VeChain, Flare, Velo, Casper? The stuff under 5 cents. Are we better off transferring the speculative utility XRP, XDC, XLM, and HBAR? I can't give you financial advice. Atlantic Living. If you want financial advice on your portfolio, you're welcome to reach out to Digital Wealth Partners. You might already be a client. I don't know. But I would talk with your advisor there. And they can absolutely give you financial advice on where to move your assets and work through all of that with you in a very educated way, and make sure that you are either diversified or siloed or, segmented in certain assets that are going to be best suited for your long-term goals. I can only tell you what I'm doing. And you guys know, like, I only own one asset. It's only XRP. And I'm here for ROI, and we have already built everything at Digital Wealth Partners to be able to provide lines of credit against XRP and the ability to generate returns on it. And those will go live. I mean, the credit lines are already live. We've done like 6 million in loans against XRP. And the returns should start middle of March. So that's what I've been working on for 2 years. I wanted to be able to have my cake and eat it too. Have the asset go up, be able to draw down lines of credit against it, and be able to put it to work to earn returns or pay off the interest on the note that I borrowed, right? So that I didn't have to pay it back and I just get free money. So XLM here in the next couple weeks will be available for custody there at Anchorage, and we'll start being able to do the same thing with that. And then XDC, we got the good news the other day that and HBAR will be added in Q2 here to their custody solution. So that's insured. You have your spouse or your beneficiaries attached to the account. It's segmented and siloed, bankruptcy remote, so that you don't have to worry about loss of funds or being hacked or phished or any of that stuff. We're co-signers on there, so it'd have to be a multi-sig to move the assets out of there. They're working on the ability to whitelist wallets. So even if you were hacked and we signed and you signed and all, a quantum computer, came about that was way more robust than anything that we think exists out there, and somehow, unsharded the keys and unencrypted them and signed a transaction, which I can't say can't happen, but like very unlikely. That's why they have $100 million worth of crime insurance from Lloyd's of London. Let's say all that happened. They could still only send it to your whitelisted wallet or the green listed wallet that you have, which is your own cold wallet. So anyway, they're working on that feature, and I'll have that live here in the next couple weeks as well. So anyway, I can't give you, financial advice. All I can tell you is I don't own any of those other assets. We have plenty of clients that do. I think they're good investments. I like VeChain. I like Flare. I like Velo. I like Casper. I like Stronghold. I like XRP, XDC, XLM, HBAR. I think there's going to be somewhere between 50 and 90 networks that are the networks that last on the other side of whatever regulation or blackout or whatever happens, this year. I think that those are all good bets. I can just tell you, for me personally, I only own one of those, and you can call me an XRP maxi. That's fine. I'm here for return on investment. That's what I'm here for. I missed Bitcoin. I missed ETH. I think this is the next biggest opportunity. And so that's why I hold that position. If I found something that I thought was anywhere close to the same type of upside, I might look at it. HBAR would probably be the next closest thing that I would look at. We had a client that I talked to earlier today that just doubled down on his position. He's got a lot of other positions and done really well for himself, but he bought more HBAR, at 18, 19 cents. So, you do you, but if you do want financial advice, again, you can reach out to Digital Wealth Partners and get all those other wonderful benefits that I mentioned as well. This person's asked, are banks buying crypto in large amounts now? If they're launching ETFs, yeah, they would have to, because they're going to need enough of the asset to, back the spot ETF. So in that circumstance, yes, but I think they already have potentially enough to be able to transmit transactions and facilitate all that they want to for some of the other use cases. What do you think HBAR will hit over here on TikTok? Well, and Maverick says it's still early, but what do you think of SWI? So HBAR, I don't know. I know that it's going to be a pretty high number. I like that the fees are fixed on that network. Hashgraph is different than blockchain. It's much more secure. It's scalable. Google's involved. Like there's a ton of reasons HBAR looks really juicy. Price point, $10 maybe. That's probably a low end assumption, especially with the ETFs that it has behind it at this point. It could be much more than that. That's probably my conservative prediction on HBAR. We'll see if I'm wrong or right on that. I'm just throwing a number out, to be honest with you, because I don't have, with XRP, I can do the math. With HBAR, I don't know how much value is going to be moving over the network to be able to tell you the volume and then the price point for the token, because I'm not exactly sure the use case. I think it's going to be Web3 dApps. I think the majority of Web3 will be built out on top of Hedera. Maverick, he asked about SWI. Not really bullish on SWI, to be honest with you. I know, and that's probably unheard of. Most people are like super bullish on SWI because it's had a big run up to this point. I think it's done a lot of what it's going to do. I don't know that it'll be around later on. I could be completely wrong. I haven't done enough research on SWI, just transparently. So I have no clue what price it could get to. Again, I don't even know about the tokenomics. If they can mint more of it, I don't know what type of consensus protocol they use. I have not done enough research on SWI to know one way or another. And maybe I should be more bullish on it. I'll do some research. All right, we'll go over here. Let's see where we're at here on YouTube. We have after profits, liquidating liquidity pools, staking business. So we set up LLCs for everybody to make sure that if they are using their assets to generate returns, they have the full breadth of the tax code to be able to offset those gains or income, and they can use it as a business, right? And it's not a trading LLC because you're not arbitraging a market. You're putting assets to work in some manner to be able to generate value in the economy, and you're being compensated to do so. So just like a regular business, right? Like if you owned a lawn care business and you have trucks and mowers and weed eaters and all that stuff, you have assets. You have a service-based business that does something with those, generates value. People pay you for that. You make money. So obviously there's a different NAICS code for this, but yeah, I think that that's a fantastic way to go about it. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in liquidity pools. I wouldn't call it staking, because staking is a bit different. You're delegating your voting power or some other interest for a node to be able to validate transactions or participate on a network. In a liquidity pool, it's not really staking. So I think you'd be contributing. I think that that is going to be a security, and we're working on a way to be able to like put a wrapper around that to actually make it legit and legal. But then you may end up needing to be accredited to participate in liquidity pools. I know that, over what they were looking at was like over $50 million in a liquidity pool. You actually need a broker dealer license to be the one that issued that pool. So I think there's going to be a merge of DeFi and TradFi. And you saw that, Ripple's got a roadmap for that. They've already put out, these different amendments that have already been instituted on the XRPL, including digital identity and AMMs and oracles and a lot of the other stuff that we've seen passed over the last 12 months here. So I think that that'll continue, and I think you'll continue to see, TradFi kind of roll out regulations for how you're supposed to operate with DeFi. And we're at the forefront of that with Digital Wealth Partners. We're continuing to be able to tie into these networks and work with our partners to do so and provide, all of those opportunities as they come about. Conservative asset class. He says, "How, Jake?" I'm assuming that's supposed to be howdy. Howdy, sir. As demand for institutional custody increases in the near future, how are you planning to manage the workload? Will there be any priority given to Mastermind members to use the service? Yes. Yeah. So Mastermind members, I take care of people that take care of me, right? So people that are part of the Mastermind, that have been here, that have paid their dues, that are part of that community, we will, make sure that you have an opportunity to participate with Digital Wealth Partners and a lot of what we're doing there with Anchorage. And we've streamlined that process significantly since we started it 4 months ago. We just released a new version of that onboarding form today that should make onboarding be reduced from we'll see, don't quote me on this, my compliance officer will jump down my throat. So I'm hoping, let me say it that way, I'm hoping that this new form that we've released streamlines the process to take 3 to 5 business days instead of 3 to 4 weeks, which is where we were before. So, we're continuing to add personnel over there to that company. We've had 3 more hires in the last week that will come on here within the next couple weeks as well. And we'll continue to scale out the team as revenue permits. As more revenue is generated, then I don't make any money. It costs me money to do all the stuff that we're doing. But I want it to be available for people on the other side of appreciation. If I'm not going to do it, nobody else was. The investment banks don't have it. Nobody else has it put together. So I want it. I know that I want it for my assets. And I'm like, look, I'm going to build it and fund it, and we'll get it across the line and be here, when the time comes, to make sure people have the opportunity and they don't have to sell their assets if they don't want to. So anyway, yeah. Mastermind members, if you guys are interested in the Mastermind, we'd love to have you in there. You can go check it out. Just go to the code right up here, the URL. It's beyondbroke.com. It's the Mastermind. And if you want to check it out for a month for free, you're more than welcome to. The code over there is Beyond Broke, just like it's spelled there, but all capitalized. The number 1 and then MO, like Mary Oscar, gets you a free month there in the Mastermind, in Social and in Carbon One. So that's Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you that free month. Come try it out. Just connect with me on LinkedIn is currently our process. We have a lot of really good people there. The culture there is fantastic. And again, we provide them a lot of opportunities. Loyalty is a big principle for me, and people that are in early and support and are part of the journey, they get the upside, right? I always want to make sure people that have been here get taken care of. I don't want to say first, but they have a benefit, and kind of first, really first, over other people that show up later because they've been here for the journey with us. as XRP has been in the bear market and, through the last 4 years here, which hasn't been that fun for most people holding the asset. So I want to make sure that those people are celebrated and get the opportunity that they deserve for their patience. So anyway, again, would love to have you guys there in the group, and we are going to lock it down. So if and when XRP goes over $10, we are locking down the mastermind for 30 days. We are putting extreme security protocols in place for vetting people as they come on. We're going to raise prices 10x from where they are today. So social membership will be $250 a month. The Carbon 1 will be $1,000 a month. Carbon 2 will be $200 or $2,500 a month. They will be much more expensive to participate, and you will have to qualify. It won't be as easy as connecting with me on LinkedIn and then getting a free month in the group to try it out. The subscription just depends on what this person's asked. How much is the subscription? So right now, in the mastermind, it's $25. Try to make it super affordable for people because not everybody has a whole lot of money, right? Especially if you're buying. I'd rather you put your money in digital assets because you're going to make more money there anyway. So I try to provide more value in this mastermind than I've ever had in any of my masterminds that I've ever been a part of, the least of which cost me $3,000 to start and join. So we're in there. We do calls twice a week. I'm in the chat all the time. We're bringing in experts to talk about fixing your credit or other business applications, different types of deals, real estate, private equity. We had a guy come in and talk about like tiny homes. We had another guy come in and talk about what's the not tiny homes, RV parks and storage units was the other one. And then, we do private deals there in the group as well. We've done a lot of investments in fintech companies, many of which you might know and like. And you don't have to be accredited. So in the group, we run 506B deals, and I can't talk about them publicly because of the regulation. You have to be in the group. It's literally how it's written. So we have to have a pre-existing business relationship. So the mastermind covers that. And then you have to be sophisticated or understand the risk associated with the investment. We provide financial education and business resources there in the group that I feel and we feel provide enough understanding that you are sophisticated to be able to invest with us in the deals. So again, so $25 a month, that gets you to social membership. Carbon 1 is $100 a month. That's where you can invest with us on the deals. And then over the long term, I want it to be a deal community. I want people to be able to bring deals and be able to run deals in the group, syndicate private investments through the community, and bring awesome deals to the group. That's the long-term vision. We've already had some really cool stuff that not even me has put together. Other people have put together. So anyway, really excited about the opportunity there in that group. And again, on the other side of appreciation, we're locking it down. So if it's something you're interested in, I would encourage you to go ahead and go to the website. It's a free month. Get in there because I don't think we're that far from $10 on XRP. When it goes, like, I'm serious, we're shutting the door and we're going to raise the criteria pretty substantially, and costs are going to go with it. Anybody that's there, you're grandfathered into the current prices. They will always stay that way. Again, we want to take care of people that take care of us. So thank you, Conservative Asset Class, for bringing up the mastermind and being a part of it. Excited, like I said, about the future there. We've got Storm Striker. That's a couple questions. Will XRP work with the BRICS nations? Yes, CHIPS uses XRP, in my opinion. Will Ripple have stable coins for other countries? Yes, I think they will. The euro, Brazilian real, maybe. Russia and China potentially also. Japan for sure. The pound and the euro. I don't know about other BRICS nations, but the pound, the euro, Japan, for sure. And what's the difference? And what will XRP be backed by, for example, gold? So there's been a lot of people that have asked that exact question. I think that XRP could be the same price as gold, but I don't think it'll be backed by gold. And the reason for that is if it were backed by gold, it would have to be in like a 1 ounce to 1 XRP ratio, or there'd be some ratio, like the rubles were like 0.00 something grams per ruble, right? Is how they back their currency. So there's a ratio on that, but it's pegged. So when you peg it to something, you need the price of XRP to be elastic or dynamic, to be able to change based on the volume of transactions that are moving over the network. And if they roll out new use cases or bring other markets onto the network and transactions are flowing, the price needs to be able to grow or shrink to provide liquidity in that market, as well as everything else it has going on. So probably grow, but it needs to be dynamic. So to back it, backed and pegged are two different things. I think XRP will be backed by the markets that it's settling the value for. And one of those markets could be the gold market. But I don't think it'll be exclusively gold that backs our XRP. But I do think that it could be close to the same price as gold at some point in the near future. A couple more questions here on the super chat. Appreciate you guys on the super chat, by the way. These are awesome. You always ask fantastic questions. Same thing over here on TikTok. Appreciate you guys. Black Excellence has asked, well, we'll do this one, then we'll go right back. How are you handling taxes with DeFi pools, yield and staking? Does your trust or LLC have a DeFi account? So you'd want to set up a trading LLC if you're going to be doing all of those things, if you're going to be trading. But if you're just going to be participating in DeFi protocols, we have accountants, basically, that are able to do the accounting for all of that and reconcile all those transactions and get that put together for your CPA in a way that's understandable for them. And happy to, email you some names on that. Count on Sheep is one of those people. If you want to go check them out, they're a good accounting. If it's in your personal name and you're doing a lot of, either trading or DeFi or staking pools or yield farming or airdrop farming or all that crazy stuff that people do, go check out Count on Sheep, and they can get your taxes situated. They're a partner of ours. All right, back up here. Top 5 best ROI utility cryptos. Ooh. XRP, XDC, XLM, HBAR, and then it's probably a shakeup for the 5th one between either Avalanche, Ondo, or Algorand. One of those 3. But the top 4, I think, are pretty clear for which ones would do the best. And that's my personal opinion. Again, I only own one. That's the only one I'm absolutely sure on. Otherwise, I wouldn't have my money parked there. Not financial advice. Jake, we had a scam attack last week. I recognize it. Please press the link. No, you're a scammer. He threatened me. We know where you live. I said, come on. Thanks for Anchorage. We sleep well. I'm glad for that, brother. I'm sorry to hear that, there's crazy people out there, trying to run scams on people. And that's why I'm excited we do have institutional custody. You can sleep well at night. You know that your assets are insured. They're way more secure than just on a cold wallet or on an exchange. And you have the ability to do all the other cool stuff that we have partnerships to be able to curate, which nobody else does, right? There's nobody else in the market that can provide bankruptcy remote custody and also give you lines of credit or the ability to borrow against that collateral, and then also a way to earn returns on it without ever having to move your assets out of institutional custody. Like, we're it. And I've made sure of that. I've made sure for myself and for everybody else that's in the XRP army that you got a place to go, that you're going to be taken care of. A lot of people, I just asked about Bank of America and the stablecoin. They're going to come. The investment banks will show up, but they don't have it. Like, we talked to all of them. I had BNY Mellon, Citi, Goldman, Fidelity, JP Morgan. All of them were at our last event last year in September. They ain't got it. They were watching us and asking us. So I think they're, 8 to 12 months, maybe a little bit more than that away from being able to provide institutional grade custody for retail clients. Fidelity will do it for BTC or ETH, but you're not getting, they'll let you, draw lines of credit against it. They're not doing XRP. I don't know that they have the infrastructure to support XRP. for clients, right? And then those are still going to be, right now, any exchange you're holding your XRP on, it's in a commingled account. It's one wallet address, like a routing number, with a tag number that's like your account number, right? And they use that as their accounting mechanism to know how much they owe you, but it's theirs. It's not yours. They owe it back to you. Whereas in ours is institutional custody, but it's an FBO account. It's for the benefit of you are the owner. You are the signer. They do not have rights to your assets. So, let's see here. Is XRP a good buy right now? I just bought some more. So I hope so. Could it go lower? Sure. Is it going to go way up from here? I think so. Again, it'd be like buying Bitcoin at $2.20. That's how I'll put it. Would you buy Bitcoin at $2.20 10 years ago or 15 years ago? I would, looking back on it now. And so that's how I view XRP today. It's like buying Bitcoin at those prices. Here's the code here. My team's put this in the chat. So again, Beyond Broke, the number 1 MO gets you a free month there in the Mastermind group if that's something you're interested in. Again, and we're going to lock that down on the other side of a $10 XRP. And the vetting process is going to be much more stringent, and we're going to make sure that those people there are well protected and taken care of. So if you want access to private deals, if you want to be part of a fantastic growing community of 1,500 people that all have aligned interest in digital assets and want to set themselves up for success, we would love to have you. Again, just connect with me over on LinkedIn and then use that code and get the free month, and we will see you there. WJ, he says, hey, Jake, how are you, sir? Is Bitcoin dropping due to the Tether delisting? Just purchased the LLC. Awesome, brother. Glad to hear that. Looking forward to working with you. Me too. I think Bitcoin's dropping for a lot of reasons. I think the reverse carry trade is starting to unwind, and I don't think people realize, every market, there are not going to be any uncorrelated risks. Every market is going to see a big downturn when all this shakes out. And I think in opposition to that, you're going to see these ETFs roll for XRP and liquidity pour into that asset to be able to, settle the unrealized losses and be able to jumpstart the economy and everything else that we're going to need and V-bottom out of there. So I think it's just a reverse carry trade. I think people are quickly selling off their positions, swapping back to dollars, swapping that to yen, and repaying loans as fast as they can because they know that the Bank of Japan has started yield curve control, and they're trying to get out now before it's a worse problem. Let's see here. Hey, Mandy has shared the live over here. Thank you, ma'am. Let's see. Can you explain the quantum financial system? Chrissy, I'm sorry to tell you, anybody says that stuff and tells you to get into Lobster Wallet or, move your assets over here, it's a scam. Do not do it. Do not get onto Lobster Wallet. Anybody that says quantum financial system, I love Mel. Okay. Mel Carmide, good guy. Run. Don't do it. Don't move your assets into anything that is quantum financial system. It is a scam. Hold it on a cold wallet, get it in institutional custody, get it wherever you feel comfortable. If that's Uphold's vault, if it's on Uphold or another exchange, if it's with us, if it's on a decent wallet or a Trezor or a Tangent wallet, great. But please don't put your assets anywhere that anybody that's talking about that tells you to put them. If they're just talking about it and they don't know any better and they believe in it, cool. But if they're telling you to move your assets anywhere or tether your wallet to something, do not do it. Photosynthesis. There's a good comment the other day that we had here on the channel. The gentleman, and I'm bad about this, so I tend to speak the same language that I do when I'm having a conversation with a very, I won't say very educated, somebody that's from TradFi. Okay. Sometimes I use terms or acronyms that most people may not know. And I apologize for that. Just want to say candidly, I'm not doing it on purpose. This is just how I speak on a daily basis. It's not to sound any different here than like, if you meet me on a call, this is how I talk. And I had a person I met with today that was like, I don't know what that term means. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. And so just slow me down. If anybody on here, I say something and it's over your head or you don't know it, you get two options. You can Google it and it'll probably tell you. If that doesn't work, just respond on here and say, hey, I don't know what that acronym means. Can you please explain that in more detail? And I will make sure to do it. So, but anyway, on the comment, the guy was teasing me for, speaking this, high level language. And we responded with, he called me a cryptologist. So, anyway, it was good back and forth. Let's see here. Let's see if we got any more super chats. We do. Row H says, thought experiment. If XRP has all the money and HBAR has all the data in the digital post-quantum world coming, data might be priceless, the new oil, which can make HBAR moon. There is no spoon. I love it. And that's what I think it'll be. I think that HBAR probably ends up as the base layer for all Web3 dApps and applications. Google wouldn't be on the council. Dell wouldn't be on the council. There's too many tells, right? Like that one's easy. We go, oh, there's these people on their advisory council. Like for sure it's going to be used by all of these companies. So anyway, I'm with you. I think XRP does end up with all of the money as the back end. And I think HBAR ends up moving most of the data globally and securing it, right? Like, so you could have a digital identity on HBAR where you're only able to share or what you want to with other people. And you can get paid for access to your information. Right now they're just taking it, but you can monetize what you were doing on a daily basis to allow them to be able to market to you or other people in your purview or your network, right, that you're having conversations with. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen this. Like you talk about something and then like 10 minutes later on Facebook, they're advertising it to you. They're taking your data without paying you for it. But I think in this post implementation of Web3, I think that you'll be able to monetize your own data, which will be a really powerful tool for a lot of people. And maybe that'll be a form of UBI that you get, that you get to just live your life the way that you were living. But if you want to give up your data, you get paid to do so, which would be great for most people. Excuse me. So, yeah, I'm with you. I do think that HBAR could be a really high price. I'm probably very conservative with a $10 HBAR. Let's see here. We've got a couple more super chats. Terizo, he says, have to go. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share. Mastermind's awesome. Thank you, brother. Appreciate the kind words. Excited to have you there in the group. And yeah, like he said, I'm super proud of that community. I'm proud to be a part of it. We started that a little over 2 years ago, and to see it grow to 1,500 people in that time has been, no, I don't have words. Just fantastic to see that many good people come together and share knowledge and be encouraging to one another, and have aligned interest and want to help each other along. A lot of people in the group are just a few steps ahead. Some of them have their LLC done. Just for you guys, if you're there in the group that we provide a 50% off code. If you want to set up an LLC for your digital assets, if you don't have at least $50,000 to $80,000 invested in digital assets, keep buying digital assets. That's honest to God. Like, don't set up an LLC, just keep buying digital assets. If you have less than like 50 to 80 grand invested, if you have more than that, it might make sense to go ahead and set up an LLC to be able to manage those assets, especially if you're planning to take profits or use them to produce income for yourself, or you want to set yourself up for success prior to price appreciation here in the US. If you're international, we have some other partners. If you're Canadian, you might want to set up a C Corp. I got a podcast on Friday with Aaron Grinhaus to talk about, what the best way to do that is. We have set up LLCs here for Canadians. The problem is the Canadian government doesn't recognize LLCs. They only recognize corporations, and so they will double tax you. But you can kind of get around that with the C Corp and the election we can make there. So We'll break that down in more detail on the podcast on Friday. I don't know when it'll be live, probably sometime next week. But we want to provide, our Canadian people out there. Appreciate you guys, your support and your viewership. I want to provide you guys some value. And again, that'll be released for people in the mastermind a little bit earlier, probably, than what it is publicly. If you're in Europe or the EU, we have a way to set up LLCs in Nevis. That would probably be my recommendation. Or in Dubai, we have another great contact there in Dubai to set up a company if that's where you would like to move post price appreciation. We're working on Singapore. We haven't got that one nailed down yet. If you're in Australia and you want to move to Dubai or get out of Australia, then we have people there. Again, that we can set up in Dubai, but we also have people in Australia that can establish your family trust there if that's something you're interested in. I would highly recommend, if you plan on staying in Australia, to go ahead and do that now and just go ahead and pay the taxes early, because if you do it post price appreciation, they're going to get their piece. Hopefully all this tax stuff goes away. Maybe Trump's getting rid of like 120 IRS offices, slashing it, which is awesome. Glad to see that. I'm like everybody else. I hope all that just magically goes away. I got to live in the world that we live in, right? And so that's why we have fantastic accountants and CPAs to make sure that people are taken care of and they're able to mitigate the taxes that we have, estate taxes, gift taxes, income taxes, capital gains tax. There's lots of taxes. So we have the full breadth of the tax code in an LLC. If you do want to set that up, I didn't even tell you the code. It's 50 off, 50 off, OFF, DAG, LLC. Get you 50% off the LLC. If you want to set it up, you just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io, and you can go check that out and get your LLC for $1,500. That includes the EIN, articles of organization, registered agent, certificate of good standing, BOIR if we need it, the full template on how to move your assets into the LLC, the full template on the operating agreement that shows you, step by step, gives you everything you need for an operating agreement for that type of company, the capital contributions page to be able to move your assets into that corporation. And then we also give you a video on how to set up a bank account so that you don't get flagged and you can trade your crypto or take your profits when it's time to do so. So try to make it as end-to-end as possible, and we'll continue to do that across the board for all the products that we provide. But it's 50 off, 50 OFF, DAG, LLC. Gets you $1,500, everything all in for an LLC specific to manage your digital assets. Here we go. Lucas, how are you, sir? He says, how's it going? I'm blessed and highly favored. Appreciate you being on here and taking the time out of your evening. Do you think crypto will recover and we could still get a $300 to $1,000 XRP by end of year? Hope all is well. Really enjoy the lives. Appreciate you being here and the kind words. I think, look, the market is all speculation right now. That's all it is. I want it to be utility, but it's not, right? So until that happens, until they actually use these assets for what they're intended, it's going to be volatile. It's going to be nascent. You're going to have significant volatility to the downside. And we've seen pullbacks in Bitcoin, in bull markets. Most bull markets for Bitcoin, you've seen 30 and 40% drawdowns multiple times in its moves up. So I think we're at like a 20% drawdown right now. Like, if you've been here in crypto, like, this is just kind of par for the course, unfortunately. If you want 100% gains in a day, you have to be willing to take, 40 or 50% L's in a day too. It's part of the deal. So I absolutely think that with the right events dominoing, we could absolutely see a 3 and 4 digit XRP by the end of the year and potentially even by the end of Q1 if the dominoes fall in the right order. Let's see here. We got Roy. He says, does moving assets into the LLC reset my holding period? Not if you do it the right way, like we show you, for long-term capital gains, even if I've held a year as an individual. So if you set up a single member LLC, so this is the key here, and this is how we do it. You set up a single member LLC. So even if you have a spouse, most states have strong spousal rights. Okay, that means your spouse is basically entitled. You've set it up during your marriage. They're entitled to half the company. Okay, and that's most of the time people are like, well, I want a partnership with my spouse. Cool, you have that already through the marriage document that you set up. Setting up a limited partnership, you will reset the basis. You will have tax implications. So please listen. Do not set up a multi-member LLC. You want to set up a single-member LLC, and you'll be the one listed there, and you can make her a manager and a signer on the LLC and the bank accounts. Okay. But yeah, you don't get a step up in basis, and you have no change in time frame held if you set up a single-member LLC. Chelsea's asked for the discount code. The discount code is 50 off, 50 OFF DAG, like Digital Ascension Group LLC. Get you all that for everything I just listed there for the LLC on digitalfamilyoffice.io is the link and the URL, and it's in the bio. Thank you, this nice lady here in the chat. So anyway, yeah, it's a great question, Roy, and it's something that we get asked frequently, and it's definitely something that we've made sure we've put in here just specifically for this reason, because we don't want to reset the time frame held and lose those long-term capital gains that you have locked in. Alfredo says, "Hola, what's up, man?" Saw that Swift will be launching their trials on HBAR today. Do you think they could use HBAR over XRP or both? So HBAR has a stablecoin deal. Look, Swift has two options. Okay, they need a provider that is ISO compliant. HBAR has some ISO stuff, but they don't have software that does the messaging and settlement for banks. Okay, so Swift has two options. They can use RippleNet or they can use R3. Like, those are the two options. And both of those companies and those softwares only use one asset to settle, and it's XRP. So I think that's to throw people off. I think they're late to the game. I don't even know if that's based on what I saw, it may not even be a real article. It may be somebody fudding stuff. So, don't let it deter you. I've had conversations with both Ripple and R3, and I'm highly confident based on my interactions and other things that it will end up being XRP and not HBAR for Swift. Just my 2 cents. Just a guy on the internet, though, right? So you make your own financial decisions, not financial advice, just based on my interactions and conversations I've had. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not missing any other super chats, and then we'll go back and answer some of these awesome questions you guys have. Just say thank you here. Typhoon, thank you for the super chat, brother. Let's see. Digital native. If my assets in custody with you I'm going to assume are in custody with you, I'm not accredited. Are there other ways to earn on assets to help cover custody costs until accredited? Thank you. Not at this time. So we're working on it. So originally I had it in a 506B, was how we were going to structure it. And that was going to sit on the cap table of the other fund. And that's how we were going to involve the non-accredited people that I would qualify as sophisticated. We're currently looking at setting up a 504. And I know these numbers don't mean anything to you guys. If you want to go look up the regulations for Reg D funds, you can look at the numbers and the letters and kind of decipher what I'm talking about here. It's a lot of regulatory red tape is really what it comes down to. I would love it if it was just DeFi and everybody could participate. Unfortunately, we have an SEC registered RIA, which is a registered investment advisor. The SEC, hey, we got 589 people here on YouTube. Very cool. Sorry. The SEC they're real, and we are beholden to them, and we have to do everything above and way above compliance because we're in crypto and we are the only people doing what we're doing. So we want to make sure that we're doing it above board and doing it the right way. And so with that, we have to structure things specifically to meet the guidelines that are required. And currently, as it sits, no, we do not have a way to be able to help cover fees for non-accredited clients, but I'm highly confident in the very near future, you won't have to worry about that. If you got enough XRP to onboard, need a $5 XRP, and you're probably there. Maybe a $10 XRP, and you're there. I don't think that's very far off, like at all, from where we are today. So, again, we're working on ways to be able to structure that and provide that for people, but unfortunately, our fund admin didn't want to do it the way that I wanted to do it, and so we're stuck with accredited investors for at least the next 30 days here, probably. And thank you for being a client. And there's reasons people don't come on. Like, if you're not accredited and you don't want to pay the extra, it's $100 a month minimum. It's $1,000 onboarding fee over there. You get all of the benefits that I talked about earlier, right? Like, you get the security, you get the insurance, you get cosigner, you add your spouse, you have beneficiaries. Like, there's a lot of reasons to custody in an institutional custody outside of your home or a safe or on a cold wallet or on an exchange, because you're not beholden to other parties. And you're basically paying for the insurance and the benefits, and you get the advisory, right? Like, you can call one of our advisors and have a full conversation about your total financial picture, and they will help you work through that. So there is a lot of benefit there, but it is at least $100 a month just to hold your assets over there. And for a lot of people, that's an extra bill. And I get that, right? So if you are in the process and you're a little hesitant to pay those things, Two Goose has asked how much do you need to onboard? So right now we're actually running a special. Actually, I can't say that. Digital Wealth Partners is running a special that I can tell you about. According to my chief compliance officer, that's how I have to state it. So you need at least 50,000 XRP. If you have 50,000 XRP or more, then you can onboard into Digital Wealth Partners and get all the benefits that I've been talking about this evening. We normally do $500,000 in total portfolio value. So normally it's, if you had, you're diversified. Maybe get some Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Solana, XDC, HBAR, XLM, maybe some of those other tokens, Velo, Stronghold, Casper, Ondo, whatever you have, Avalanche. If all of that was north of $500,000, we can bring you over. But right now, if you have at least 50,000 XRP, even if you don't have $500,000 in total value, we will work with those clients. And you can just go to the contact us form at digitalwealthpartners.net. We're going to run this promo. They're going to run this promo through the end of the week. So through Friday, 50,000 XRP gets you in. And again, you just want to go to digitalwealthpartners.net and then fill out the contact us form, and that'll kick that off, and it'll ask you the question there. And if you meet those qualifications, then you can get set up. Again, there are some fees. It's $1,000 to onboard. It's at least $100 a month, but we are able to provide lines of credit against your XRP. Nobody else is doing that. Not here domestic in the US. You used to be able to do it on Nexo, but again, you're giving them your XRP and hoping you get it back. It's not still yours. This loan allows it to remain in your possession in a sub account there on the platform in Anchorage. And then the yield, again, you have to be accredited, but somewhere between, if the funds that we're working with continue to perform at the level that they have historically over the last 5 years, both of these funds have produced somewhere between 21 and 50% returns per year in a risk mitigated strategy. So market neutral, limited downside. One of them is a little bit lower returns, but it's the biggest drawdown they've ever had in a month is negative 1%, which is super cool to me. Like, the most I can lose in 1 month potentially ever would be 1% of my total bag. And I get an upside of like 20-25% per year. I'm game. And they've never had a negative quarter, and that's how we do the payouts. So again, the likelihood that you would, there is some risk. It's not riskless. And our team can tell you more about that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, so I'll say it this way. Our number one rule over there is we don't lose XRP. Okay, that's the number one rule. Number two rule is refer to rule number one. So the risk to lose XRP over there is probably on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 1.5. It's very low. There's still a little bit of risk, though, again, because there are unknown factors. Things can change. We have counterparties, but I think it's a really very, very, very low risk way in comparison to anything else on the market to be able to generate a return on your XRP. And you don't have to sell your XRP. Don't have to trade it. Don't have to do anything with it. Just sits right there. Let's see here. Yes, through this Friday, if you guys want to go check that out, you have to have a minimum of 50,000 XRP, but it's digitalwealthpartners.net, and just fill out the contact us form, and yeah, they'll be willing to work with you guys and get you in. Have to pay the onboarding fee before Friday, but as long as you do that, then you're good to go, and we'll get you onboarded and give you all the benefits that I'm talking about here. Let's see here. Making sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. Man, long list. You guys are awesome with all the questions here. Lee Hunter, he says, rabbit hole, tinfoil hat. Okay, nice. Have you heard of Nasara? Yes, I talked. I was there when Mel asked Jack McDonald if they knew about Nasara at XRP Vegas, the first one. Just started seeing it on my TikTok. Is this just a conspiracy or truth to it? I mean, cool. We'll just go down the rabbit hole here with you guys. It's live. Why not? Nasara was supposed to happen on September 11th of 2001. Like, it was supposed to be on that day. That didn't happen, obviously, right? Is it ever going to happen? Maybe. I don't think there's any difference between Nasara and the new world order. I think they're the same thing. Instead of UBI, they call it freedom dividends. Is there a rainbow currency? There's a central currency, like all that stuff, right? And I think it's on a bell curve. I don't think it's going to be a utopia. I don't think it'll be a dystopia. I think we're going to be somewhere in the middle, and there's going to be good and bad, just like there is today. I just think there's going to be new ways to move value globally, and they are probably going to release a bunch of technologies. There's going to be a lot of transparency. There is going to be a revision of the government and global systems and the hierarchy of things. But at the end of the day, it'll be a new paradigm and a new normal, and we will get used to it. And I think people's quality of life will improve, but I don't think it's going to be like you just won't owe any debts or they're going to wipe everything. Because one person's debt is another person's asset. And so if you were to do that, like, literally all the companies would collapse, your pensions would collapse, your 401ks would collapse. There's too many people depending on the outcome of those investments for them to let them to, it would be anarchy, right? So you have to be creative about that. And I think BlackRock has done a really fantastic job over the last 20 years, repackaging bad debt with good debt and then selling that off and then having a portion of each, package fail, but the rest of it survive. And so it's able to pay the bond yields that people need. And they've done a really good job, doing that. And now I think they have XRP. I think Ripple and XRP and BlackRock are a lot more affiliated than most people realize. And they're going to utilize XRP to offset debts and repackage it and leverage against it and increase the velocity of money and do a lot of things that are going to benefit the economy over the long run. And again, I don't think it's Nasara. I don't think it's the New World Order. I think it's both. And I think, everybody's quality of life is going to come up. I think the implementation of these technologies is only going to be beneficial in reducing frictions in the economy, in improving GDP, and improving the ability for people to create value in society. So anyway, good question. But again, that's kind of the same thing as the quantum financial system. Those two narratives tend to go hand in hand, and it's not going to be this shiny new rainbow. Nobody's coming to save you. If you haven't realized that by now, like, you got to save yourself, and you're here in these digital assets and you're making these investments and you're setting yourself and your family up for success. And we're here on the other side of that to, make sure that, I set all this stuff up so I wouldn't mess it up. Like, that's all this stuff that I've set up has been selfish. I wanted to make sure my estate was in order. I wanted to make sure that I had, all these benefits and that I wouldn't mess it up for myself and my family over the long term. So I've dove into this for the past 4 years to get to where I am and brought in all these professionals and built it and curated it all. This person says, so not a digital prison. If you own XRP, it won't be a digital prison. They can't freeze XRP. They can't claw XRP back. They can blacklist your wallet from transacting, but only with them. You can move around the world and transact with other people. So anyway, I think it's a pretty big benefit if you own that asset in particular. And people talk about being sovereign with Bitcoin, but I think you're even more sovereign with XRP than you are with BTC. This person says, do you think XRP will go up? Yes, I do. For a lot of reasons, but just as the simple answer, I do. Not financial advice. Sovereign debt fund. Yeah, there's tons of people that are coming into the market right now in a big way. Already an hour in here. We're going to hang out for another 20-25 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. We got Don. Thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, I know you're in Texas. Yes, sir. Born and raised. Do you offer services here in People's Republic of California? I do. We work with many Californians. Also, I'm looking to get a financial education. Is there a college online you recommend that represents unbiased education? I'd come into the Mastermind. Like, again, I sound like I'm a sales guy on this deal, but honestly, so I went to school for finance. All of the stuff that I talk about now, never learned in school. I had 3 teachers that I would consider good teachers that really changed my perspective on things and taught me some stuff that actually was applicable in the real world. And the rest of it was garbage. It was like the world operated in a vacuum and this stuff would be perfect if it happened this way, but that's not how the real world exists. So we teach actual tangible things there in the Mastermind group. We talk about setting up your estate plan. We talk about trust. We talk about living trust, asset protection trust, dynasty trust, insurance trust. We talk about insurance, what types of insurance policies there are, how you can use those to your advantages, what to look out for when negotiating an insurance policy, how to fix your credit, who to go to for private banking, which digital asset wallets you might look at, other types of investments, real estate. Most of what we talk about in the Mastermind is alternative investments. We really don't touch stocks or bonds or more of the traditional stuff because the alpha really isn't that great there. It's not the upside. Great if you've already made your money. And you're looking for a stable place to like diversify and hold your wealth. I think the stock market and bonds, treasuries make a lot of sense. But if you're looking for, generating wealth, I think the asymmetric bets are in alternative assets. And that's what we discussed there in the group. We'd love to have you. Again, it's free if you want to go check it out for the first month. It's mastermind.beyondbroke.com. And just put in the code BeyondBroke, just like it's spelled up here. The number 1 and then MO all capitalized. So that's Beyond Broke, number 1 MO, gets you a free month there in the group. And I think you'll get more financial education out of that group than you would almost anywhere else. There's a few other people out there that I've seen that have good courses, but they're $3,000 to $5,000 a piece. So for $25 a month, you get almost as good an education on that stuff versus their courses. I've taken them. So I can tell you. Anyway, look forward to having you there in the group. Let's see here. Thank you again for the super chat. That's awesome. Make sure I'm not missing any other ones. Appreciate you on the super chat here. People may ask, why do you only do super chats? I just want to make sure if people pay, they get their question answered. Like if I paid, I would want my question answered. So as soon as I get through all those, I will go back to the other questions here. How was ETH Denver? I went up there. Yeah. So Monday, Tuesday this week, I spoke on a panel at Gamma Prime. They're an association that does deal flow. So they have a bunch of hedge funds, private equity deals, real estate deals, syndications, SPVs. People bring deals to the group. And then they have a bunch of qualified investors there in the group that, syndicate the deal or come in looking for asymmetric bets, good returns on their investments. They're looking for ways to be able to incentivize deal flow within the group and pay people to bring deals to the group, but they're not a broker-dealer. So I told them probably don't do that because you'll go to jail. Oh no, there goes the camera. I knew it was going to happen. Let me see if I can set this other one up. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. I'm sorry about that. So put this up here. Do it this way. All right. Hold on to your britches. There we go. Oh no, that's horrible. Well, you guys can see what I'm working with here. This is how we're going to hang out for the last 20 minutes because my camera decided to... I got a new video card that I'm going to put in my computer. But until that happens, my camera decides it's only going to last about an hour. So let's see here. We've got another super chat here. Thank you for this. They say, just wanted to show my appreciation for all that you do. Thank you so much. The community is so incredible. And your insights are truly changing lives. Thank you for helping us learn, grow, and build wealth. Your hard work never goes unnoticed. Thank you. It's stuff like that. There's a lot of days for me that not that fun. I push really hard. My team works super hard. I mean, I'm seeing emails come across right now. It's almost 10, 11 o'clock at night over there on the East Coast where these guys are, and they're responding to people's emails right now. We run really hard, and a lot of time it's not easy. We fail often. We're not perfect. And it's frustrating at times. A lot of the time, it's very frustrating, and so it's really nice to hear kind words from people that it's worth it, right? If we're changing some lives, if we're helping people, if we're educating people, and their families are going to be better off in the future, and they're able to leave a legacy and make sure that they're taken care of, that means a lot. So thank you for that, and can't really say I don't have words to describe how much that means. So thank you for it. Over here on TikTok, Black Excellent says we love you. Thank you so much. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff you guys don't see behind the scenes. People work really hard. We've got a really good team. Super blessed for all the people that are working with us in our group. Shout out to Max Avery. I don't ever say that enough on here, but he's the OG. Like, none of this would be possible without him. He does all of our content and does a fantastic job promoting and making sure that our accounts are, got stuff on them, and editing the videos. He spends countless hours on everything that he does for us and the team. So just want to give him a shout out and say I appreciate him and all that he does for our group. And thank you, brother. It's I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm excited for our future. Let's see here. Really everybody on our team, but Max is the OG. Shade Spot. He says, hey, Jake, how are you? If the reverse carry trade unwinds and the market crashes, wouldn't XRP crash too, at least temporarily? Yes. Why do you and Mikkel always predict a pump? Wouldn't the crash come first? Yes and no. Okay, so I think we've got the crash. I think other things are going to continue to crash. I think you might even see XRP start to pump tomorrow off the news that maybe the case is settled with Ripple. And I think you'll see follow-on from stablecoin regulation after the reverse carry trade unwinds. And I think you'll see follow-on again from the ETFs that they launched to drive liquidity into XRP. And then I think you'll see follow-on again from institutions and sovereign wealth funds and people selling their BTC for XRP. And then I think you'll see follow-on again for everybody starting to use XRP once there's enough liquidity in it to be able to settle transactions globally through SWIFT and the back end of the stock market and commodities and FX. So yes and no. I think that there's just going to be so much drive behind this asset in particular when the time comes for the use of it. And they've strategically put everything here. They're right on the precipice of it. And while everything else is burning and collapsing, you're going to see, I can't say a straight line up, but kind of a straight line up on the asset. Oh, man, this light is glaring. Trying to get this in a reasonable spot here. Sorry about that. Okay, that's better. This camera's horrible. Sorry about the camera. Let's see here. Please explain the insurance that is provided if we work with Anchorage. 1 million and 10 million total coverage. What if net worth is north of 100 million? So that's correct on the insurance, Denise. We have, so Marsh is the provider for Anchorage, and we're working with them to create species insurance on the accounts. We don't have any account holders that are north of 1 million, 100 million yet. But when we do, they are working on ways to be able to basically provide you a separate policy that you can pay for anything north of that. So if you want to insure it for however many billions, it'll probably cost you, some basis points each year for that extra insurance. But we're working on quoting that and figuring it out. But we have to have somebody that's north of 100 million before we can really go talk to Lloyd's and push that along. So, and that's how these institutions work. They are from Idaho. They're from the Show Me State. So if you don't have it in your hand to be able to say, hey, I need this, they're like, yeah, call me when you get it and we'll talk about it, right? Because so many people waste their time on stuff. So anyway, we should be able to provide species insurance underneath the policy that Anchorage has specific to your account, and it will be an extra cost if that's something you're interested in. Living Legacy is doing a great job promoting this here in the chat. So if you guys are interested, again, you can go check out the Mastermind, get 1 month free. This is the code here in the bottom corner. That's Beyond Broke 1MO. Get you a free month there in the Mastermind. And again, I know I'm probably pushing this a little harder than I normally do, but I'm pretty confident that XRP is going to be over $10 soon. I think the Epstein deal, like a lot of the other stuff that's going on. Oh, it's Missouri. I messed it up. I'm sorry. Thank you. The Show Me State is Missouri, not Idaho. My mom used to say that growing up, so I misquoted. That's my fault. But yeah, like I said, I know I may seem like I'm being pushy, but I'm trying to help people out to get them in there because I really don't think you're going to have much more time to get your free month and lock in pricing and be a part of the community if that's something you're interested in before we raise prices and lock people out for the next 30 days. Let's see here. Hunter says, thanks for your time as always and your thoughts on why BlackRock is dragging launching their ETF, because when they do it, it's game on. We saw that when they launched their trust that they filed in Delaware in 2023 in November. We saw a spike in XRP's price immediately, and it separated from the rest of the market. I think you're going to see the same thing when they do their ETF again, and they will launch it. They will roll their ETF, and as soon as they do, they're going to get approved, and then everything runs. So Robbie has deleted his time at Ripple. Robbie Mitchnick on his LinkedIn. He is the head of digital assets at BlackRock. So why would he do that? Why would he delete that if that wasn't indicative of something? But yeah, I think they're dragging their feet to the last second. This person's asked, how often does the Mastermind meet? So we have 2 calls, 3 calls. Yeah, 4 calls a week in there. So we have every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, we have a town hall. We normally have like 200, 300 people there for that call every week. We go over all the deals that we're doing in the group, global macroeconomics. Then we do a Q&A session on more specific stuff. And I also talk about things that I don't talk about publicly there in the group. And then Monday, we have a digital asset discussion at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time every single week. We go over, the state of the markets, where things are at, where they're headed, different opportunities in the market, and do all that. And then we have a voice chat on Sunday in the afternoon for anybody there in the group. We also have a Carbon 2 call every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time that's separate from everything else. And then we try to have one other call each week with a professional in there that talks about, some things specific that they do, whether that's a different type of deal that they run or how to do due diligence. We had another guy come in and talk about M&A for small businesses, roll-ups, private equity, tons of stuff. So we try to, again, add as much value as we possibly can there to the group all the time. If you're talking about in real life, we try to do once a quarter meetups. We will have an event before XRP Vegas on the Wednesday. If you're there in the group, you'll know where that's at. It'll be exclusive to Mastermind people. We're not bringing any outside people in on that deal. Same thing for all the events here in Dallas. We just recently had one up in Arkansas that people attended. And if you're social, Carbon One, it doesn't matter. You can come, whatever level you are, to the in-person events. And then Carbon 2, we do some separate events for Carbon 2 each quarter also. Try to have, something where that group gets together. And so just so you guys know kind of the difference between the levels, if it's social, like you're just there to learn, you want to get the knowledge, you want to be able to participate in the community, be there for the long term. And it's more for the education. People that are in Carbon 1, they're trying to get access to private deals and financial education and business resources to, improve their ability to create income and make good investments and stuff. And then Carbon 2 is more for, executives, people that own businesses, people that are a little bit further along in their estate planning, maybe more higher net worth type people. And we do run, private deals in that group that we don't put out to the rest of the community that tend to be a bit more costly, to get into versus, the normal 5,000 that is the bottom buy-in for most people in Carbon 1. So anyway, that's kind of a breakdown of, the different things there in the Mastermind. And depending on, who you are, where you're at in life, and what you're looking to get out of it, you might participate in any one of those levels that fits you best. And again, if that's interesting, Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you that free month. Rippler FX says 50,000 XRP minimum for the loan against XRP or 500K. So depends on who's providing the loan. We have 4 different providers that'll loan against the XRP. Galaxy, you need at least $4 million worth of XRP, and they'll loan you up to $2 million. That's their minimum. Or they loan you at least $2 million against your XRP. That's 12% for 12 months. It's the best rate over the longest term. Maple will do $250,000 against $500,000 worth of XRP. And then Arch Lending will do, I think, 50,000, 25,000 against your XRP. And these are all 50% LTV. So you have to post twice the amount of collateral as you're taking on the loan. The interest rates are high teens for the latter 2 options, and they are shorter terms. So anyway, if that's interesting to you, if you do have your assets parked with us, again, you can get, access to liquidity against them without having to sell them. Debt is not income. It's not taxable, and you're good to go. So trying to provide, options for anybody that has their assets with us at the best rates that we can. And we also launched the DR. So it's a depository receipt. We worked with another company to get that formed. We can't sell those. We're not a broker dealer. We're not a market provider. We're not a qualified purchase. What is it? A qualified something. You have to have at least $100 million worth of net worth to make a marketplace for DRs or depository receipts. So we're working with Murex to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to. The cool thing about that is your assets will stay at XRP. They'll stay at Anchorage, locked in your account, insured with you signing on them. And then we'll be able to issue a DR in the DTCC's infrastructure with the QSIP. So now, Fidelity, Goldman, Citi, none of these guys even have to hold your XRP. You can park it with us. We can reflect it over there, and you can generate returns with them and with us to be able to, pay for your lifestyle or borrow against it or do a bunch of other cool things. So that's the first legal product that's issued and available with the DTCC for XRP. And we did that. So that was super cool to get that to market first before the ETFs. But again, we got to have a market. We got to have liquidity. There's still a lot to go on there. So it's not quite too available for clients yet. He says Cardano is better, bro. Johnny. I hope so. I've met Hoskinson in person. We talked to him in his family office last year at Rare Evo in Vegas. I I don't think Cardano's better than XRP. He wouldn't be as salty as he is against the XRP army and Ripple. He was like trying to reach out and have an olive branch, and then he burnt it again. I don't get Charles. But yeah, I don't know. This person says, how soon? Predicting $10. Soon. Like, I think we could see volatility in the next 3 days here with the Epstein list coming out and other things happening. Soon. So yeah, minimum over here is about what you said there. Ripple or FX for the loans, both those, depending on who you borrow from. A couple more super chats here, and then we'll probably wrap it up this evening. Why do you think Vanguard isn't interested in crypto ETFs? Because they don't want the exposure to the unrealized losses that are about to happen against Bitcoin and end up going bankrupt. That's why. I don't think their balance sheet could sustain the unrealized losses, and so they were like, nope, we're not getting in bed with that. We know that it's probably going to go way down, and we don't want to be in a position where we have the exposure. So I think Vanguard is in cahoots with Ripple and XRP and SBI and BlackRock. And on that side of the fence, I think they need to orchestrate a crisis. And so, but I think Vanguard just didn't want the exposure. Joanne, thank you for the super chat. Then we got Izzy. He says, what's up? I love when you tell us how close we are to dominoes falling. That's the best nighttime story ever. Love the Beyond Broke Mastermind. Awesome, brother. Glad to have you in there. Like I said, super blessed and grateful for all the people that are there in that group. Couldn't ask for better people. And we're very close. We got yield curve control in Japan. Like, that's a tell for me. Like, we're I can't say we're here, but I think we're pretty close to here. Denise says, thank you so much. I just received yours and Max's book. Awesome. Yeah. Wealth in Numbers. We wrote this last year, put it out in December. Max was the main person that wrote this, by the way. Give him, kudos and pat on the back for this. I just kind of like oversaw some things. Took him a lot of time. So, thank you, Max, for putting this together and getting this out to the public. It's awesome to see. And if you'd like a copy of this, if you want to learn how to syndicate deals and everything that's required for that, you can check out Wealth in Numbers. Just go to Amazon, Wealth in Numbers, and put in Jake Claver or Max Avery. You can download it, on the Kindle version, or you can get the hard. Well, this is soft cover, but I'm super excited to have an actual book out about that, along with the website that we've and the software we've created. He said your knowledge and integrity is valued beyond words. Thank you so much, ma'am. Or Dr. Denise. All right. I think we're down to the bottom of the chat here. Fire Marshal Bill says, I got the book. I need Max to read it to me. We're going to work on an audio version. Okay. It's on the list of all the stuff that we have to do. But it is definitely on there, and we will get to it at some point this year. Let's see here. George says XRP Vegas is right around the corner. Yes, sir. Excited to see you guys in May. We got 68J's event there at the end of that. We've got our event, and then I'll be at side events. I don't know that I'm going to go to the conference, but I'll be at side events the whole time. So excited to see everybody there in Vegas. If you go, go ahead and have a couple more questions over here on TikTok, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. Is there a minimum amount of crypto owned required to join the mastermind? Absolutely not, Josh. Yeah, no minimums. Take anybody and everybody. If you want to be a part of a fantastic community of people that have an interest in crypto, that want to set themselves up for success and long-term wealth, Mastermind is the place to be. Donna says, where do you see Bitcoin going? Down. And I hope I'm wrong. Again, I thought 75K was the top, so I could be way off here. But based on the chart, it just broke through resistance to the downside. If you watch BCB, he thinks there's another high. He thinks it's going to break to the upside and go. If it gets affiliated with the stuff that comes out tomorrow, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think market dynamics could shift dramatically if we see the reverse carry trade unwind and some of these other things that I've talked about transpire. Constraints don't change. I'm not a TA guy. I don't know. But if Bitcoin gets associated with Epstein and that stuff, I think you would see it drop dramatically. Let's see here. Would you rather own 10,000 XRP or 100,000 XLM? I think that, well, I answer it this way, J-Man. I think the highest price that XLM can ever get to is $1,000 a piece. I think the highest price that XRP will get to is $1 million a piece 10 years from now. Both of them 10 years from now, I think that those are probably the prices for them. And so, you can do the math on that on whichever one's greater. But I think XRP ends up being the winner there. And that's why I own that versus the other. We need a LinkedIn account to get started. You don't have to, stuffed animal. That's just how we vet people. So, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, just set up a Discord account and go to the site and you can put in the code. And again, if you want the LLC, you guys can go get that set up and make sure that you're protected and set up for price appreciation. You just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and put in the code 50OFF 50OFF DAG LLC. Get you $1,500 for everything that I mentioned earlier, set you up for success there. If you're interested in the wealth management, go to the digitalwealthpartners.net and put in, fill out the contact us form. You have to have at least 50,000 XRP. We're running that through Friday. So if you got 50,000 XRP and you want institutional custody, the ability to borrow against it, potential to earn returns on it, an advisor and all the other stuff that we offer there, you can go check that out. And then again, on the Mastermind, I've put that there lots of times. So here's the code for the LLC. If that's something you guys are interested in, setting things up previous to price appreciation. We'll go ahead and wrap it up tonight. I hope you'll have a wonderful week. Sorry I missed Monday with the travel up there to ETH Denver speaking at the conference. It was super cool to meet everybody up there. Really enjoyed that. We will be back again next Monday, like we do every week. For here on the live, and we will see everybody in the Mastermind on Saturday. With that, we'll wrap it up. Hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful evening. We will see you guys on the next one.